What's up guys, it's Ryantium here, and today we're going to chat a little bit about what to expect with Stellaris 2.2. Now, as I'm sure most of you who play on Xbox Console Edition, or whether it's PlayStation or even PC, you know that Console Edition is getting a massive update, not only with the Synthetic Dawn DLC, and then, Apocalypse and Humanoids down the road, but we're also transitioning from the 1.7 version of the game to the 2.2 version of the game. And to put this lightly, it's as if Stellaris 2 is coming out. Honestly, it does that much to the game. So let's go over a couple of the things that you'll be seeing in 2.2. But keep in mind, there will be a more in-depth breakdown of everything that's coming in 2.2 once the update has been released on the 12th. So you can look forward to things coming out like that, either on the 12th or a couple days after. Just stay tuned to the channel, everything like that, and we'll go from there. But 2.2, what exactly does it do? Well, there's a lot that it does to the economy. The economy has gone from, instead of it being a tile-based, mining station-based economy, to now the districts, building slots, and the mining bases, or the mining stations themselves. So, in the 1.7 version of Stellaris Console Edition, obviously, you have all of the planetary tiles with energy, minerals, food, society, research, engineering, physics, the alien zoos, the Betharian power plants, everything like that. There's all sorts of different things on every planet, but the thing is, when it comes to building an economy in the pre-2.2, in the 1.7 version of Stellaris Console Edition, it's very difficult to be able to successfully specialize a planet while also trying to build your research up, while also trying to build your Unity production up, while trying to do all of that thing with, the research labs that you have in 1.7, which only generate one of every research, unless you put it on a tile that has, +2 physics or something like that. So, that's what we're coming from, and we're going to the district system. Now, the district system took me a little while to get under my fingers, but it's honestly one of the best ways to snowball your economy out of control in specializations. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can see on the screen right here from the dev diary, it's a pre-beta screenshot, but you can see that the district layout shows you that there are 4 different types of districts most of the time, depending on if it's a special planet or if it's, there's a lot of different things that can go on with that. But most of the time, you'll have 4 district options. You'll have a city district, a mining district, an energy district, and a food district. All 4 of these districts are broken down into jobs. Now, jobs are something that's also been revamped as far as 2.2 goes, which leads into the pops and everything like that. And like I said, if you want more in-depth breakdown on 2.2, stay tuned to the channel after the 12th, because then we'll be going into all of the little in-depth mechanics of the jobs and the strata and everything like that. So stay tuned for that. But the jobs, the pops grow on the planet past 25. In 1.7, you could only have a 25 size planet with 25 pops on it. Now, you can have 5 times that if you wanted. In fact, on some planets on PC nowadays, you can have 10 times that. You can have over 250 pops on one planet without going overcrowded. I mean, even on PC nowadays, there's people who have gotten thousands of pops on one planet. No idea how they do it, but as far as the 2.2 console release goes, 25 is no longer the max population on a planet. And that's great, because with districts, let me get back on track, with districts, say I wanted to build 3 mining districts and have that so that I could generate my minerals. When you build a mining district, you'll see that one job or one mining district has X amount of jobs, X amount of housing, and it gives you X amount of resources. Now, one thing to make sure and is that the number that it shows the job producing is not a per job basis, but a per district basis. So if I were to build one mining district, it would execute that amount once all of those jobs were filled. It's every district with all of the jobs inside of it producing X amount of minerals. So it's kind of something to wrap your head around with that. But instead of having to use the tile-based systems for regular buildings such as research labs and the autochthon monuments, which are the Unity producers, or the Betharian power plants, or even the storage silos and stuff like that, instead of having to take up precious real estate on this tile system, you now have a completely separate building tile system, which allows you to build alongside your regular resource production. So if you want a planet dedicated to producing food in the districts and producing Unity and research in the buildings, you can do that now. It makes the economy so much better, and it allows for numbers you would not even freaking believe when it comes to generating minerals and energy and food and unity and research. I mean, we're talking thousands of research, thousands of energy and minerals a month. We're talking so much food you can't even freaking eat it all, and it's just an incredible thing that's happened to the economy. And it's one of the things that's really the meat and potatoes of 2.2 for me, is the rework of the economy and everything like that. Not to mention, you have specific research that allows you to actually boost the research and output of all of your mining stations. So for instance, in normal 1.7 Stellaris, when you built a research station over top of a deposit of 2 physics, you would pay the upkeep cost and you would get a fixed amount. You would get that fixed amount. On 2.2, you put it over there, you pay the upkeep cost, but then you can then begin to boost it by 10%. I think it's 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times, I can't remember exactly. But you can boost it just a little bit more. Same thing with your mining stuff. It makes the economy less of an obstacle and more of something that's way easier to get going. But considering that the economy has been moved from being an obstacle to something that's supposed to support you, there are a few other things in 2.2 that are a little bit more complicated and a little bit more, take a little bit more nuance to understand them. So, in addition to the districts and jobs and pops and everything like that, we covered a lot in just that little blurb. You also have housing and you also have amenities. Now, amenities, fun stuff. Amenities are the things that give your pops a good life. Same thing with consumer goods. Consumer goods like we've had in the 1.7, which was just kind of subtracted from your monthly mineral income and your total stockpile. Consumer goods is an actual commodity now. It can be traded on the market, and it can be used for all sorts of things, whether it's research labs or creating a surplus to make sure that your planets have enough amenities, or your pops are happy enough and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of little mechanics and modifiers that go into that. But amenities come from jobs known as clerks if you're an organic empire, and then other things for hive mind and machine empires, which we'll get into when we do all sorts of stuff on machine empire videos and machine empires. So stay tuned for those videos too. So the amenities, if they're low, it can create a snowball effect. If you have low amenities, it can create low stability, which can create high crime, which can create a loss of resources that you could be getting from jobs, which can create unrest, which can create revolts, which can create a sad face. And let me tell you, it can go pretty quick if you forget about it. And if you forget about amenities, you'll be losing planets left and right, or even worse, in my opinion, you'll start to have differing ethics in your empire. So for instance, if you leave a planet for too long and you're a militaristic empire, sometimes you'll get an egalitarian modifier of plus 100% ethics attraction for egalitarian, or pacifism, or anything like that. Something that can turn your pops against you, making it harder to generate influence, because we all know how fun it is to generate influence on a faction-based system. And that is still there. Factions are still a thing. So amenities is one of the more nuanced things, and the way you create amenities is through mainly 2 things. One, city districts. When you build a city district, you not only get housing, but you get clerk jobs, and the clerks make amenities. And then there's also merchant buildings because of the trading system that's here in Stellaris 2.2, which is a whole nother video on its own. My god, the trading, I love it. But the merchant buildings, they can generate clerk jobs as well as trade value on your planet. So think of it as the clerk jobs are the taxation, the taxers, or what's the word I'm looking for? The people who tax you, the government people. They're coming after you to get your taxes. But in order to do that, they also make amenities, which makes your life better, because you pay taxes, it makes your life better. Or that's how things are supposed to happen. So that's definitely one of the more nuanced things that's there. And then the last thing that I'll touch on, now keep in mind, this is not everything to know about 2.2, because that information's coming in later videos, but I figured we'd get the ball rolling on a couple of these things so that you know what to expect and how to prepare yourself. But the last thing that I want to talk about is war. Warfare, the fleet manager, and everything like that. So the fleet manager was by far, and is still by far, my favorite mechanic when it comes to reinforcing fleets. In 2.2, there is a newly introduced mechanic known as fleet cap. It was a fleet cap on 1.7, but that was the fleet size, the total naval capacity. Now you have the fleet cap as well as the naval capacity. So the fleet cap says you can only have 10 ships in this fleet that are either 10 one-size ships, 5 two-size ships, everything like that. It breaks it down into even amounts. So with the corvettes, it normally adds 1 to your naval capacity. With a destroyer, it adds 2. With a cruiser, it adds 4, and with a battleship, it adds 8. All of these things are now calculated into this fleet cap, and the fleet cap you have to follow. And if you can't go over your fleet cap, but you can go over your naval capacity, which means you can technically have more ships, but the fleets, you have to have multiple fleets. So by the time the in-game crisis comes around, you could be throwing 13, 14 fleets at them, all under your naval capacity, but maybe the fleet cap with 14 battleships in it might be 110, something like that. It's a very nuanced mechanic that we'll go over in a future video as well. But yeah, and as far as warfare goes, now with the different casus bellis that you can have, casus belli meaning reason to go to war, it makes it a lot more flavorful. It adds a lot more dynamic action to the way you do warfare. You're not just mindlessly going to war with someone unless you're a fanatical purifier or a determined exterminator or a driven assimilator or anything like that. There is a reason to it. Do you want to vassalize this person? If so, demand that you demand they become your vassal. If they say no, go to war to make a difference. Go to war to force them to be your vassal or to be your tributary or anything like that. There's a very cool way of doing warfare now, not to mention with the whole border expansion, the different borders and everything like that, and we can go over that in the next video as well. But there's a lot of things to look forward to in 2.2, and I just scratched the surface as kind of the introduction to 2.2 and what you can kind of expect. So with that being said, guys, stay tuned to the channel for some more videos. I tend to post these videos every Wednesday and Sunday, but I probably will start posting more and more as we get closer and closer to 2.2 and then after 2.2. So if that interests you guys, definitely stick around, stay around, and there'll be plenty to see on the channel for Stellaris Console Edition. So guys, with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.